And that's the thing about frequency. You can't buy frequency. You can't buy shadow work and internal dialogue. You can buy change, you can buy the playlist, and you can buy bots and the streaming forms. You cannot buy soul.
With hip-hop being by far the most lyrically driven music genre in human history, it stands to reason that the classic album competition has had a constant correlation with rappers pushing to be recognized as the best to ever do it. A Tribe Called Quest entered the scene with their first 3 albums being considered classics. Both of Biggie's albums have that classic stamp as well. And of course, Kanye West can claim the same for his debut, The College Dropout, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. But when it comes to Drake, the same can't be said, and it might have something to do with Kendrick. Drake is a lot of things to a lot of people. To some,
Hey, I'll say this too. Like, music for me has always been a direct reflection of the culture itself. So, hell, like Drake and Kendrick both came up in a time where streaming was really trying to take off. So they really had the hybrids. So albums were still a thing, but streaming was really, like I said, taking over. So Drake took the side of the streaming and Kendrick took the side of the albums. And Drake is like a hunter, where he has to go out and hunt every single year, every single summer, and collect those streams. And Kendrick is like a farmer, where he sat back and he planted seeds that we can go back to every single time and just collect his crop. So it's almost like yin and yang, Batman and the Joker. They both need each other. You feel me?
fans, he's their undisputed GOAT, who has well and truly earned Spotify's most streamed artist of the decade. For others, he's either just an MC who's got a few catchy tracks, or someone simply following every trend to keep himself at the top of the mountain. But for Kendrick Lamar, it's a different story, because to him, Drake embodies everything Kendrick despises in modern hip-hop. And long before they were caught up in the great hip-hop war of 2024, they were already going at each other's throats in subtle forms, and it all really stemmed from Kendrick. K-Dot and Drake's relationship formally began in 2011 when he was on tour alongside him. Forming part of an all-star bill which also featured A$AP Rocky, they headed out on tour, and initially, it all seemed like they were content to play happy families. And when asked about Drizzy in interviews, Dot had nothing but praise for him.
No, I sat down with Drake in Toronto a while back when I did my first show out there.
Hey man, this goes back to the Tupac Biggie type vibes. Like they were kind of cool, cordial with each other, but then they ended up falling out. But at the same time, they both knew what they wanted. They had to collide. Kendrick wanted to be the GOAT. Drake wants to be the GOAT. They got to compete. They can't be on the same team. It's like Kobe and LeBron. They can't work out. They can never be on that exact same team. So they got to compete, man. So, and that's why we got one of the best hip-hop battles of all time. Man, shout out to them both, man.
He called me up, man. We had a few drinks. He was appreciative of my music. I've always been a fan of his music. Hit me up one day and said, you know what? Handpicked, man. I want you to be on this tour. Shout out to Tristan.
Whether or not this was ever truly the case, his apparent admiration for Drake's music obviously wasn't his only reason for hopping on board, as clearly, that exposure was priceless. And even in early discussions about touring with Drake, he seemed to stress that it was a golden opportunity.
I can't back down from that to expand my music to a crowd that haven't heard it before. I know it's 15,000 people out there. I'm used to 2,000. It was fun, man. We had a great bond on there.
From there, they would collaborate several times, with their last link up on a track coming in the shape of Poetic Justice from Kendrick Lamar's landmark album, Good Kid, Mad City. Notably, this was the most radio-friendly song on the record, with Drake being drafted in just as he was entering the peak of his commercial powers, in essence making K-Dot an early guinea pig for the so-called Drake stimulus package that many other artists would later benefit from. But soon, the tone of their every interaction was about to change, and it all began when Kendrick appeared on The Breakfast Club and seemed to co-sign one of the infamous rants about Drake that had emerged thus far.
What about Drake? You like Drake?
No.
Why don't you like Drake?
I don't like anything about Drake. Boy, so he talks about, I don't like his face. I don't like the way he walks, like nothing. I don't like his haircut. I might just, let me shut up.
Well, while promoting his debut album, Kendrick made his own appearance on The Breakfast Club and referenced how much he thought that infamous clip was hilarious while he was on tour. And in a now deleted section from the interview, he didn't exactly hold back. I'm wondering why these in the front of the bus just cracking up, hitting walls and he said, swinging his arms. I'm like, dog, what the you talking about? They mute, they stop laughing, right? I just hear X going off on the laptop, just spazzing. Although there was no public response from either person, what it did was mark a point where they'd never make music again. So tracks like Problems, which Drake and 40 personally produced and gifted to Kendrick, who recorded a verse for it, passed it back to Drake, who eventually gave it to A$AP Rocky, allowing him to keep all the previously recorded verses, including K-Dot. And from this point on, the pair would enter into an era of subliminals and online jabs. Now, it's worth noting that Problems and Good Kid, Mad City
Hey man, Drake's sensitive like that. Y'all know he like having a bunch of yes men around him. He's the only child. He's like getting all the attention. He's the actor. Yeah, man, he's sensitive as hell. You can't be friends with Drake. I don't even want to be friends with Drake. Cause he like to sleep with his friends, wives and girlfriends and all that type of shit. I ain't trying to be friends with Drake, no way.
dropped within the same month in 2012. So in an alternative universe, it isn't crazy to think that the track might have ended up on Good Kid, Mad City. Nonetheless, with publications like the Washington Post going on to label Good Kid, Mad City an instant masterpiece, Drake suddenly felt the drive to achieve something that eluded him in his career, creating a classic album. As a mixed-race kid from Canada who grew up in the suburbs, Drake had always been fighting for acceptance in hip-hop, and one surefire way to do it would be to produce an undeniable body of work. Thus, he began to work on Nothing Was the Same, the album that...
And that's the thing about frequency. You can't buy frequency. You can't buy shadow work and internal dialogue. You can buy change, you can buy the playlist, and you can buy bots and the streaming forms. You cannot buy soul. You cannot buy experiences, man. You can't try to steal it through ghostwriters or producers. Doesn't work, man. Doesn't work. You got to actually experience this shit. This is God. Well, if you're an atheist, goddamn, this is frequency, Nikola Tesla. Either way, you got to experience it, man. You only vibrate what you are.
Was meant to prove that he was every bit as capable of creating a classic record as Kendrick was. The music I'm making is more concise, more clear. I've been able to get my thoughts across a lot better on this album, he said of the project prior to its release. Take Care is a great album, but I listened to it and I realized where I could have done better, and I think I've done better on this album. But as he was preparing to unleash what he thought was the most comprehensive document of his skills, Kendrick was about to seize the agenda in hip-hop all over again with his infamous Control verse, where he called out everyone from Cole and Big Sean to Drake and Tyler. In essence, while Drake was prepping the world to pay heed to his skills and position himself as the undisputed king, Kendrick came and snatched the crown and the news cycle in one fell swoop. And to say that Drake was salty afterwards would be an understatement.
It just wasn't real to me. I saw him after that and it was just like love. So it's like, was that real or was that just like for the people? Those were harsh words. You can't just say that and then see me and be like, yeah, man, what's up? Pretending like nothing ever happened. Like, to me, that's not like the nature of battling. I mean, there's passion behind it. There's anger behind it. I personally enjoy making like great music.
Drake, come on now. Come on now. I don't even think the Control verse was even that serious to be on some beef type shit. He was talking about bars. He was talking about battling, rap lyrics. Hell, Tyler was mentioned. And Tyler, he was still at the Pop-Out concert. Kendrick and Tyler still cool. A lot of these rappers, they still cool. So Drake was the main one that's extremely sensitive, man. Sensitive. Hell, even to this day, he keeps pretending like he doesn't want to defend his championship. Like, hell, you just watched the Izzy fight. UFC, they just got done fighting yesterday. If you're a champion, homie, each and every single time you step inside that octagon, you gotta defend your championship. Drake, he's not used to being an athlete. He's not used to being just competing. He's not used to putting his title on the line. And this is the result.
Bodies of work over like being the talk of Twitter for like 5 days.
A subject that was brought up throughout the press cycle for Nothing Was the Same, Drake was embittered. And soon the subs would be flying. As the album that he'd hyped up so much emerged, fans noted that the language from Nothing Was the Same seemed to be taking aim at not only the adulation that Kendrick receives, but would suggest that Control was a cheap ploy for attention. I don't know why they've been lying, but your is not that inspiring, he rapped. Later in that same verse, he spews, any rapper that's talking that just to get a reaction. And later, I'm the kid with the motor mouth. I'm the one you should worry about. But Kendrick was anything but concerned. If anything, this was the reaction that he wanted to get, because soon he'd respond on his own accord with his feature on J-Rock's Pay For It. Spit in, this ain't no warning shot, this is a relevant henchman. See my opponent, then cease your existence. Then there was Kendrick's decision to take aim at Drake during the 2013 BET Cypher.
Yeah, and nothing been the same since they dropped Control and tucked the sensitive rapper back in his pajama clothes.
Much like Drake, Kendrick's press run soon became dominated by questions about their supposed animosity. And after Drizzy had his say-so, K-Dot was finally ready to lay his own feelings.
Yeah, and that got me thinking, like when Academic said that he thinks that Drake has been through more than Kendrick has. Y'all seen that clip? Man, like, bro, from him growing up in Toronto, the grassy, talking to his mom about a tuna bagel, to looking at Kendrick from Compton, getting into shootouts, getting jumped and shit. Man, shut your lame ass up, Drake. Like, bro, and just looking back at his old music videos, him wearing the chains and just acting tough, it just looks so phony to me now. It just looks corny. So,
There too. In comments that starkly contrasted with what he had said just years prior, Kendrick finally acknowledged that they are not the same kind of creature during an interview with Who Kid. First, he discussed what he felt was wrong with hip-hop, suggesting that there weren't enough rappers pushing themselves into the mainstream.
It's just really about challenging yourself, man, and not being able to take things for granted. Whether it's a hook, whether it's a verse, whether it's 4 bars, 8 bars, a chorus, you gotta give it your shot. This is a 1 in a million thing to be in the industry and to be doing it on this level.
But from there, he got much more specific, talking explicitly about why he wants nothing to do with Drizzy anymore.
Would Drake be somebody you would like to have some fun with?
Nah, we come from 2 different worlds, 2 different backgrounds. I really don't see that playing out as entertaining. Maybe to the people listening, but not for myself. The state of hip-hop is wild. It's in a place where creativity is at a stagnant point. And there's a lot of records that I do enjoy, but at the same time, it get to a space where it look like we just stuck now. They ain't giving us our respect because they feel that we ain't out here representing the foundation of saying what you want to say rather than just listening to what the next man's saying or what's hot on the radio. Hip-hop was built on originality.
Here, Kendrick effectively distanced himself from Drake, just like he's done persistently during their current beef, suggesting that he, a mixed-race kid from...
and that's true. Because like I said, you can only vibrate what you are. So Drake, he can only wear the uniform. He can only pretend. He can only act. He can actually experience and manifest from the reality of someone who's actually in this lifestyle. He's not actually feeling it. So it's all, he can't even method act. It's almost like Jim Carrey when he tried to play Andy Kaufman. And Drake, he just took that shit too fucking far.
Toronto wasn't truly a part of hip-hop like he was and never would be, in essence creating a differentiation in terms of how they should be viewed and the level of respect they should command. And soon, this would spread far beyond Kendrick and lead to Drake giving up on a classic album entirely. It all started with the 2014 Grammys. That night, both Good Kid, Mad City and what Drake believed was his magnum opus in Nothing Was the Same were set to square off for the award of Best Rap Album. But things were going to go left when neither of these records picked up the win, and the commercially dominant Macklemore and Ryan Lewis project, The Heist, took the award home. In the aftermath, the public were outraged, but not on Drake's behalf. Instead, they were horrified that K-Dot and K-Dot alone had been overlooked. Apparently, none more so than Macklemore, who hopped on Hot 97 to apologize for something that was ultimately beyond his control.
First and foremost, Kendrick is a friend of mine. I love his music, and in my opinion, had the best rap album of the year. That's what happened. It kind of sucks. I think we made a great album. I think that Kendrick made a better rap album. Knowing how the Grammys usually go, I knew that there would be a great chance that we would win that award and, in essence, rob Kendrick.
But once again, Drake was about to get in his feelings and show how much he despised being overlooked in favor of Kendrick. That was whack as he told Rolling Stone. I was like, you won. Why are you posting your text message? Just chill. Take your W. And if you feel you didn't deserve it, go get better. Make better music. You think those guys would pay homage to you if they won? This is how the world works. He made a brand of music that appealed to more people than me, Hove, Kanye, and Kendrick. Whether people want to say it's racial or whether it's just...
Drake got this like fresh and fit type of vibe to me. Like whenever I see, what's his name, Myron from Fresh and Fit, I just see Drake, man. Just corny. It's like they have the same exact audience.
The fact that he tapped into something we can't tap into. That's just how the cards fall. Own your To name just Kendrick, that made me feel funny. No, in that case, you robbed everyone. We all need text messages. Once again, Drake's transparent desire to be viewed in the...
We all need text messages. Boy, you lame. No, no, Drake. See, that's what got him upset. That's the reason why he doesn't send his music off to the Grammys anymore. That's the reason why he when he was beefing with Childish Gambino, he was trying to say that it was over awarded and overrated. Because he cares about those Grammys. Especially someone like Drake. He gives a damn about those goddamn awards. Because he can walk around like, look how many Grammys I got. So now he can't attach on to the Grammys anymore. Because Kendrick has those. And he got the Pulitzer. So Kendrick has the respect of his peers. And Drake, he only has the respect of his fans. And that's a small percentage of the population. Oh, man.
Same breath as K-Dot in terms of being a vitally important artist to the culture has been exposed. Because try as he might, he simply couldn't produce something that spoke so resoundingly to the culture as K-Dot had. Because after attempting to craft a genre-defining masterpiece and not getting the plaudits he felt he deserved, Drizzy decided that he couldn't accomplish that feat on his terms. Since Nothing Was the Same and onwards, Drake's status as hip-hop's ultimate chart topper has become an integral part of his branding. From the days where he suggested that he should probably sign to Hit Boy cause I got all the hits boy, through to declaring that if I touch the studio then we got one, on Scorpions Can't Take a Joke, all signs suggest that by now, Drake keeps his mind fixated on the anthems that can be supported by cold, hard sales, rather than creating a classic album with no skips. As a result, Drake and Kendrick's paths permanently diverged, by hopping on everything from TikTok dances to pandering to younger fans.
Exactly. Now he has to pander. Now he has to make the cheap McDonald's fast food music because he has to stay on top of the charts. And the only way to do that is constantly look for the supply. You got to constantly get with the sexy reds, the ice spices. Yeah, like just look at his creations, the people that he attracts. Like none of the artists that he actually claims and hangs on to are making timeless music. They're all making the exact same music from the exact same frequency. And he's a 37-year-old man, almost 40. Oh, man.
With features, Drake wound up doing everything that K-Dot had forewarned back in that 2014 interview with DJ Who Kid. Meanwhile, Kendrick kept himself focused on creating comprehensive bodies of work, delivering an even more emphatic statement on To Pimp a Butterfly. Choosing to evade the safe option of turning around another album which was sonically familiar, Dot took a risk and produced a musical journey through the music of Black America, from jazz to soul and beyond. After a project like Nothing Was the Same never received the adoration that he'd hoped for, Drake would never take this kind of risk again. However, Lamar has continued to look at the game differently, trusting his fans to put in the hours to comprehend what's happening.
It's not really a concept that I would want you to grasp in one day. I want it to live forever. To Pimp a Butterfly is one of the moments where 20 years from now, it'll probably be a little bit more prevalent in your life than it is today.
But that's not where the story stops, because moving along to the next stage of their careers, Kendrick and Drake would actually find themselves involved in another battle, and this time it was in Drake's home territory, the Billboard charts. Widely regarded to be one of his best works, Drake's If You're Reading This Is Too Late was a mixtape that embraced his raw persona, including his flaws, and resulted in something that felt honest. Effectively, although he hadn't created a classic, he proved that he was on the right path.
I actually like a bulk of this album. Even if this record doesn't go down as one of Drake's biggest projects historically, I think it is my favorite.
It's so weird sitting here with hair, man. Hell nah. I'm so glad he cut that shit off. God damn.
Commercial project that he's dropped so far. I'm feeling a strong 7 to a light 8 on this.
No way!
Yeah. I know.
But once again, he'd pivot back to making music for the charts with his More Life project. And at that point, K-Dot came to rain on his parade and even left him beaten in terms of album sales with the release of Damn. Despite billing the project as a playlist, it still very much counts as a part of his discography and featured some big singles. So, for a man that was fixated on numbers to take an L in this arena must have stung. Aware of how petty he looked in the past, Drake played the role of the gracious loser, writing on IG that it was amazing to see our music moving forward, while also hyping the prospect of a potential collab track between himself, Cole, and Kendrick. But as expected at this point, K-Dot wasn't interested in rekindling any friendship. Instead, he kept throwing jabs at Drake's inadequacies. It gets tricky because you can have that one big record, but you can still have that integrity at the same time, he told Rolling Stone after the release of Damn. Not many can do that, wink wink, and still have their raps going crazy on an album and have a #1 record. Wink wink. He'd even respond to the kudos directly on the track All the Stars from the Black Panther soundtrack. And while I didn't necessarily register at the time, the The context that we have now makes it pretty obvious who Dot was aiming at with this verse. Despite Kendrick's best efforts, it seemed like Drake was never really ready to fully shut the door on a relationship between them, because as a new era approached in 2019.
Bro, and you can tell Drake constantly needs that validation. Like, bro, it's perfectly fine to not be cool. Like, if you truly loved yourself and you had boundaries, you'll understand, homie, we don't gotta like each other, and that's fine. That's fine. You go over there, I go over here. That's it. We ain't gotta be friends, but Drake, he don't understand that. He needs that validation. He gotta be friends with everybody. That's the reason why Cole, he fell for that shit. Kendrick, he knew the game plan. He knew the chess move, so he backed up. But man, like, bro, get away from me, dude.
Drizzy publicly expressed his admiration for Kendrick one last time.
I have a lot of respect for the other two guys that I'm up against, which is like Cole and Kendrick. I'm excited that the decade's about to turn and we're gonna see who can go that extra stretch. I think for all three of us, it is the time to see who can transcend the generations, much like Jay did. It's time to see, are we capable of another 5-year run?
But now, that respect is likely eroded completely. Left without the classic he craved but a whole host of plaques, Drake has accomplished many, many things in the rap game. But if Drizzy ever hoped to obtain acceptance, then Kendrick is just at that process a long, long way back. So what do you think? Did Kendrick force Drake into giving up on creating a classic?
Hey man, shout out to Hip Hop Madness for another dope ass video, man. Comment down below what y'all think. I'll see you on the next one.